Hi, this is Misha, and I was requested by a subscriber to kind of compare and contrast the differences between a few guns that are often mistaken. The first set was the Russian SKS with the Czechoslovakian Vz.52, and we have a separate video comparing those two. I would suggest checking that out before watching this one because some content in that one will kind of lead into this one and show some mechanical comparisons. But in this one, we're going to compare the Russian AK, the Kalashnikov, in 7.62 by 39, with another Czechoslovakian gun, the Vz.58. Now, the Vz.58 for quite a long while was not well known, but in more recent times, in the last 10 years or so, semi-automatic versions such as this one have been made available in the US, some of them quite affordably, like the Century Arms Vz.2008. So people have become more aware of it. Now, based on looks, people often mistake the Vz.58 for an AK variant. And I bet most of you out there know it's not, but I'm not sure everyone really realizes just how different the two designs truly are. So we'll just jump right in. First, as I said, they do both fire 7.62 by 39. Originally, Czechoslovakia wanted to use 7.62 by 45, their own domestic cartridge, but Soviet Russia put the niet on that. And so in 1955, 1956, in that era, they were encouraged to switch over to the standard Warsaw Pact caliber. In 1957, they adopted a version of the Vz.52 known as the Vz.52-57 in X39, and then the following year, they adopted the Vz.58, which was a select fire assault rifle. Now, we have a couple of videos on the development history of this gun, and of course several on the Kalashnikov, and that's not what this is about. This is a comparison. So starting, both of these are built on milled receivers. Now, this is the original Kalashnikov. This is the AK Type 3, which was built in Russia from around the Type 2, Type 3 put together from around 1950 to about 1959, 1960. The Vz.58 was built from about 1959 through the mid-70s, early 80s for military use, and of course today is a civilian auto. Both are on milled receivers. The Kalashnikov has a medium heavyweight 16.25 inch barrel. The VZ has a lightweight 15.4 inch barrel. On this civilian version, this Czech muzzle brake, often called the beer can muzzle brake, is pinned onto the barrel to give it an overall length over 16 inches. Without it, it would be under 16. With it, we're at about 17 and some change. The furniture, original Russian guns had hardwood, as this one does here, but quickly they would switch over to laminated wood. Various nations would use different woods, from birch to beech, so on. The original Vz.58s would use beech wood, but then they would switch quickly over to this material here, often called bakelite, but it's actually a phenolic resin. It is a slurry put in a mold of wood chips and polymer. Now, over time, this would change. Sometimes the wood chips would be very large. Sometimes they would be more like sawdust. So over time, you'll see different colors, different patterns in these, almost from a true bakelite matte color up to one that has very noticeable chunks of wood. Now, both have 14mm threaded barrels. The Kalashnikov is a 14x1 left hand, whereas the VZ is a 14 right hand. I can't unscrew this, again it's pinned on. The bayonets are somewhat similar. This is the Kalashnikov bayonet. It locks on to a lug under the sight base. Sliding back. The VZ is a little different. Its lug is right here. Where did I stick? There it is. Its lug is right here. It doesn't have the rings, and it slides on actually from the back. I'm not sure if I've ever put this one on this gun. I don't know how tight it is. There we go. So, kind of goes on the opposite direction, whereas the Kalashnikov, most of you know, with the Type 1, it just slides on. They're both pretty thin, long blades that can't really double as anything else. Now, both of these had versions with folding stocks. The VZs would fold to the right and was a single strut. The Kalashnikovs would underfold with two struts. Just getting these out of the way. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Most of you have disassembled, magazines before we get too far. The original Kalashnikov used a slab side mag here, made of heavy gauge stamped steel. The VZ uses an alloy magazine. Both hold 30 cartridges, but there's one fundamental difference. Get to in a second. Take these out. The mag catches are different but similar. The VZ's is offset, the Kalashnikov's is right in the center. The Kalashnikov's safety, as most of you know, is here. It also acts as a dust cover. The VZ has a safety for the thumb, more ergonomic, so obviously it doesn't act as a dust cover. This has a very open ejection port, and it could also be topped off by stripper clips. The Kalashnikov, on the other hand, has a closed port and cannot be topped off by stripper clips. Alright, let's get into it. Disassemble this gun here, as most of you know. Just press in the back, lift up on your dust cover, and there you go. Take your recoil guide out. It's a captive contained spring there. For the VZ, we have a push pin here. It is captive. It does not come all the way out. Once this is out, make sure we are decocked and then press forward, and this slides off, and this will remove two springs. The main one serves the same purpose as on the Kalashnikov. It's your bolt spring. The secondary one is a striker spring. Wah, wah, wah. I'm going to put that back just to get it out of the way. So far we're looking not too dissimilar inside. But let's take some bolts out. Kalashnikov here. One unit, one piece. Most of you familiar. This is again the milled AK bolt group. Polished, well, I think this one's been blued, but normally they're polished. It's a very slick, no lightning cuts, 2-lug rotating bolt that unlocks and locks. to the trunnion. On the VZ, however, we have a different system. This pulls up, and this comes out as an entire unit, and we have several pieces here. First off, this is your striker. This is what fires the gun. It's held back by the sear. When the trigger is released, it is pushed forward by its own spring, hitting the firing pin. Whereas on a Kalashnikov, this one, because it's an early, has a 2-hook trigger, but we have a traditional hammer here with a trigger with 2 hooks and then a disconnector back here to keep it from slam firing. See, that grabs it there and then catches it there. So a traditional hammer firing system hits the back of the bolt, whereas with your VZ we have a sear and trigger system in here. There's only 2 parts. There's not a hammer. This, when you pull it, releases that striker I showed you. And that works with this bolt here. Now this bolt is very different than a Kalashnikov bolt. And I'm going to get this jammed up because that seems fun. There we go. See, this is all captive as one piece. Your bolt, yeah, if you notice, looks extremely dissimilar to a Kalashnikov bolt. This rotates with 2 lugs to lock into the receiver and trunnion on some guns. This has this wedge, which when it unlocks is tilted up by the bolt carrier, and then it comes down and locks. These 2 protrusions lock into the receiver in these 2 slots here, you see? And that's how that locks. So the bolt itself doesn't move except back and forth. It does not move up and down or rotate. So a very different system. It's closer to an SKS than an AK, but it's not even really like an SKS even. It's its own thing. Very finely machined. We have a firing pin extension, striker. As for the operating system, well, on the Kalashnikov, it is a long stroke. This is the piston. It's fixed to the carrier. The gas tube is just a hollow tube to guide it. Gas comes up the port, hits that long piston, drives everything back. This just lifts up and your tube comes off. But there's nothing in here. It's just a guide, as I said. There's nothing to it. That just comes off for easy cleaning. On the VZ, however, we'll use a different system. Now this one's really stiff on this gun. I'm going to do my best, guys. I don't know why this one's stiff. Probably needs to be shot more. There we go. This is your cover. It has another captive pin. This is, again, just a cover, a guide. Really not even a guide, just a metal one. But that has your gas piston up here. This is a short stroke piston. It comes back, as you see, it'll come out here. Gas comes out of the tube, out of the block, hits this, and it recoils back, striking the carrier and actuating the whole system. This comes out very easily. Just pull it back and then up, and we have the piston and a relatively short but wide spring. Comes off. This is chrome plated or nickeled, something like that. for corrosion resistance. And so you see the gas systems are very different. The trigger is very, very different. Striker on this versus hammer on this. And the bolt lockup is very different. So we're back together. And one other major difference that needs to be pointed out, as is quite famous, the AK does not have any kind of bolt hold open, hold back feature. However, the VZ does. There's a manual button here you can hold it open with, and then to release you just, quite easy to use. And if you put a mag in it that is empty, like this one is here, we hold open. This is done for multiple reasons, mostly, for the same reasons anyone wants to hold open. This is why Kalashnikov mags will not work in a VZ. They will not activate the bolt hold open, and the gun is designed for it. Now, to get that to work, what they had to do was install this asymmetrical rib in the back. What that does, if you notice here, there's a little tab that comes up. When the mag is full, it doesn't come up. When the mag is empty, it comes up, and that trips your bolt hole open. Or your finger. Luckily, I have fingernails. But on an AK, there's nothing there. So even if you got an AK mag to fit in a VZ, it would not work. Now, looking at the two mags, we see something else. This is extremely light compared to this. This is a much heavier mag. This is alloy, much lighter. Now, this is an earlier generation mag, of course. And Russia did try alloy mags, but they never seemed to get the knack down like the Czechs did. These mags are light, yet seem to still be very durable. When you look at ones that have been in service for a long time today, most of them are not dented. They're well cared for, and they work very well. So even though they're lightweight alloy, they seem to have held up well over the years. Now that shows you one of the driving features. This Kalashnikov on a milled receiver with this mag in it weighs over 9.5 pounds, closer to 10 with the sling on. This VZ with the mag in it, sling on, and with this heavy muzzle brake, which adds a few ounces, still weighs under 8 pounds. Without this muzzle brake, we would be closer to about 7.5, again with sling and magazine in it. When they designed the Vz.58, weren't really going for a true assault rifle. They were going for something that would work as either a assault rifle or a submachine gun, a large submachine gun or a small assault rifle. That's why it has the shorter barrel. This whole gun is very compact vertically as well as lengthwise. It's shorter than the Kalashnikov. It's a very slim and trim gun because they wanted to save as much weight as possible. The striker system also allows the receiver to be slim internally and also gives a very nice feeling trigger, especially compared to the AK. This large ejection port helps with reliability. And this gun is a little more complicated and probably a little more expensive to produce than the AK. However, it has a lot going for it as well. So as you see, there's actually a bit of difference. These guns, aside from a certain external passing resemblance, internally are radically different firearms. I mean, The M16 isn't much more different than any of these. They're just very different guns. No parts are interchangeable except for the cartridge itself, 7.62 by 39. And before we go, why not? What about the AKM? True, the Vz.58 was designed at a time when the AK Type 3 was still standard in Russia, but the same year, well, the year after the Vz.58 came out, Russia released the AKM in 1959, putting it into production in 1960. So it's only a little bit younger. And the AKM is a lightened and modernized version of the AK. This one here is a Russian kit build done by Legion. Just a good, honest AKM. And even then, this gun, on its milled receiver, is still a little bit lighter. Now, once you have the scope rail on this model and the muzzle brake, it weighs about the same as this AKM does here, but a standard military VZ with the 15.4 inch barrel will still be lighter than a stamped AKM. Now, the AKM2 uses lighter mags than the original AK. These are the ribbed mags. They're still made of steel, but they're a thinner gauge steel. Otherwise, internally, this is the same gun as the AK, so that doesn't really matter. And we're built with laminate wood instead of hardwood, and a polymer Bakelite type pistol grip. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring the AKM out to show with the Vz.58, since these two are most often compared together more than the AK. But as you see, the Czechs really did their own thing with this rifle. It has proven a very good, very dependable rifle, and it was a distinct alternative in the Warsaw Pact back in the 60s to the Kalashnikov. Outside of Czechoslovakia, these did see use in South America, Cuba, some places in Africa, and even some places in Eastern Asia. Czechoslovakia was quite a major arms dealer. Of course, the AK was produced in much larger numbers, but the Vz.58 was an alternative and did show that alternative designs could be created in the Warsaw Pact. So yeah, this is my little look about how the Vz.58 differs from the AK/AKM. If you have any questions or comments, we welcome them below. If you'd like to talk about your own rifles, we'd love that too. If you liked the video, please click like. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and also check out some of our other videos. We have quite a few on both of these guns. We really do appreciate you tuning in, no joke. Every view matters a lot to us. So, yeah. This is Misha. And please tune in again soon for hopefully more unique and interesting videos. We'll catch you then.